I've been receiving a lot of inquiries about about us possibly doing shared services, and more around scheduling a date to do a selectmen's meeting, like a weekend meeting like we've done in the past, coffee with the selectmen, whatever, to hear people's concerns. And I'd like to just schedule a date to do that. So,
Mr. Chairman, Pat, can we get rid of that echo? It's gonna drive me crazy.
yeah, it's tough. So I'd just like to pick a date, some Saturday within the next 3 to 4 weeks to do that. All right, so,
So let's do it right now.
I just want to make sure we have, we need to make sure we have facts for that meeting.
I think we can just talk about whatever facts we do have at the time, right?
That's fine.
I mean, there's gonna be, no matter when we choose, there's gonna be stuff we don't know yet.
True.
so I'm good the 15th,
All right, let's see here.
and I'm good the 22nd
April,
of April.
that's Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry, 21st, I mean. Hey, Pat, just, we're still getting real bad feedback up here,
No,
so I'm good
we
the,
hear it.
I'm good the 14th, 21st, and the 28th, Mark.
21st,
You said the 14th?
21st I can do.
21st, Rich, can you do the
Okay, let me double
21st?
check it. Yeah, that looks fine to me. What time are we gonna say?
I'd like to do, for me, I think 9 o'clock would be good, 9 or 9:30.
I'd like to suggest going a little on the later side. I think we might get better turnout.
You want to go 10 o'clock? I hear the opposite. I hear earlier from a
Oh,
lot of
really?
people.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
so,
mean,
that's
I'm-
why I was splitting the difference.
okay, I'm for whatever gets more people there, but I'm not sure.
Well, 9:30 is close to 10.
Okay, 9:30's fine, yeah.
9:30, okay, so we'll have Laura set that up, and we'll have an open forum on that discussion.
Beautiful.
Okay? See,
And, Mr. Burke, with any luck, long before that, I've modified the frequently asked questions document, got about 16 or 17 questions in there, so hopefully we can release that and post it prior so that people can take a look at that too.
great. I think the more information people have, the better.
Assuming that we have a location available, it could be here or could be at the senior center.
Or I was thinking maybe even maybe even the school, if we anticipate a big turnout. So,
People seem to like the senior center because it just feels less formal,
right.
but
I wonder if we can potentially, if we use the senior center, it seems like the tables limit the amount of seating. I wonder if
next they have.
collapsing a couple and putting some extra chairs, that could help.
Okay.
Okay, so venue to be determined, but we'll figure it out. Okay. Any other citizen statements or petitions? Hearing none, seeing none. Adoption of previous meeting minutes. I'll take a motion.
Oh, yeah, I gotta talk.
You want me to do it?
I think I can do it. I move to approve and adopt the minutes of 12/18/17, 1/22/18, and 2/5/18.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay,
don't know about you, Mr. Chairman, but I'm finding the minutes very comprehensive and accurate.
well, very good. Absolutely. Correspondence to the board, so consider granting a yard sale permit for the Friends of Mendon Elders Progressive Yard Sale on Saturday, June 9th, 2018, rain date of June 10th, 2018, and waiving permit fees. Take a motion, Mark?
I move to grant a yard sale permit for the Friends of Mendon Elders Progressive Yard Sale on Saturday, June 9th, 2018, with a rain date of June 10th, 2018, and to waive permit fees.
Second?
So discussion on that.
That's the annual event they have, right? Same thing they've been doing every year, right?
Yep, correct. So this is an annual event that we do every year, and, it's pretty common and customary, so I can't see any reason why we wouldn't approve this. Any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see, consider approving the opening day parade for Nipmuc Youth Softball and Mendon Junior Baseball on Saturday, April 21st, 2018 at 10 a.m. Rain date, April 22nd, 2018. Take a motion on that, Mark.
I move to approve the opening day parade for Nipmuc Youth Softball and Mendon Junior Baseball on Saturday, April 21st, 2018 at 10 a.m. with a rain date of April 22nd, 2018.
Second?
Discussion on
The
that.
only thing I'd say is for parents who are interested in our discussion on shared fire services and wanted to attend our coffee hour,
Good point.
we just scheduled that, so we should think about that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they'll keep that up, and we could probably have to pick another date.
I think we should, because we don't want to delay the young boys and girls from playing baseball.
Right.
So I'm willing to do the 14th or the 28th.
Yeah, either works for me.
So Mark, I'll just let you pick the date.
I can on the 28th. 14th, I can do that.
The 14th?
Mhm.
Okay. That's cool.
Unless I get stuck in Washington DC, I should be there.
Okay. Only other discussion that I have on the baseball, softball parade, Chief, there's just a request, obviously, for the annual detail to assist with that. No problems, right? Yep.
I have just one quick question for Mr. Belleville. So you mentioned to me yesterday about the possibility of discussions that happened because we combined with Upton, of doing flip-flopping the parade one place one year, one place the other year. But this is still gonna be just Mendon, right? It's not gonna be a larger parade because Upton will be here, is it?
It's Nipmuc Youth Softball and Nipmuc Youth Baseball now, so.
So it will be the combined towns?
This is the third year that we've had a combined town parade.
Okay,
And we've been working with the Union Complex for overflow parking if needed.
okay,
It wasn't needed last year,
yeah.
so
Okay, cool.
probably will not flip-flop those. We're doing something else for Loyalty Day and Upton
Okay,
for the following weekend.
gotcha.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. See, consider approving Troop 44, Mendon Boy Scouts of America request to hold a can and bottle drive from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 28th, 2018, in the Town Hall parking lot. Take a motion on that.
I move to approve Troop 44 Mendon Boy Scouts of America to hold a cannon bottle drive from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 28th, 2018, in the Town Hall parking lot.
Second?
Discussion on that. They do it all the time. I love it. Raises some money. So, any other discussion on that?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Consider snow and ice deficit spending. Take a motion, Mark.
I move to approve snow and ice deficit spending up to $100,000.
Second?
It's been a tough winter. I don't know if I could say it any other way.
Did you see the letter from Alan requesting the increase?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't make the weather, he says.
That's right, but we like the last miss they had. Any further discussion on that?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, discuss the FY19 budget with the Finance Committee. Come on up, Finance Committee, yep. Please.
Are you all by yourself?
No.
think Nick is here, right?
Come on up, Nick, if you'd like to join us.
Mr. Morale is in Las Vegas. Heather should be on her way. Norm can't make it. Nick is.
Thank you.
Nick interviewed about a year ago. Was it over a year ago? Yeah, about that. Yeah. We had a couple of positions open, so.
Welcome.
Which one is this?
That's hers.
Is this the email copy that you sent out at 5 o'clock this afternoon?
Correct.
Okay, then I have a copy of this. So it's my understanding that we'll go through the line items, and then we'll wait for anyone to say hold. And then if there's a hold, we'll have that discussion at that time.
Well, this is not the public hearing. We don't need to do that.
No?
No, no.
Okay.
So what we need to do tonight is go through the budget and make sure it's balanced.
Okay.
The board has to identify its priorities, and then we will make adjustments as we see fit. So what the FinCom's role tonight was, in the past, we did do this as the public hearing too. We went through line by line, but because we are still making changes, we'll have to have an additional at our next FinCom meeting on the 7th.
The 4th.
Okay.
And then as the FinCom, we'll vote on the budget on the 4th.
Right, and so I'll just recap where we're at, and then we can segue from there, just to,
Yeah, not for nothing, but we've met with each and every department, and our administrator has done a fantastic job at getting the budget together for us, so I don't see any issues.
thanks.
Good. We've got a balanced budget. We're ready to go.
Well, actually, it's not balanced, it has a small surplus right now,
I
but
guess we didn't do that great.
as you may recall, we received about $600,000 worth of requests, almost $700,000 worth of requests from departments for additions. So we have a level service budget with a couple of additions that the FinCom has discussed. The current additions to the budget are a part-time maintenance person, budget for that maintenance person, a school resource officer with benefits, and $30,000 additional in overlay, and those are the only additions to the budget. The rest is level service.
Let me just go down through the other requests real quick. And what's our surplus after that, or does that soak it all up?
We have $1,100.
$1,100?
I didn't balance it because I assume we're going to be making some additional changes.
Okay. Mr. Schofield, you would had some comments on this as well?
Yeah, I want to change a number of things on that budget. I'm not happy with it the way it is. The main reason is because we need to include the $100,000 of debt reduction for the police station that we promised the voters of Mendon when we sold the idea of the police station. So that means we have to find $100,000 inside the budget to do that. $100,000 equates to about 12 cents on the tax rate, costing the average $350,000 valuation home about $220 a year. So that's the difference we're talking about by covering that $100,000. Okay? So the way I was able to achieve that is I did the following in the modified budget that I have here right now. I called and I talked to Mr. Morale about this about an hour ago, just so you know. I didn't realize he wasn't going to be here.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have called you.
That's,
Yeah.
please.
So, let's see, where is my, here we go. Excuse me. One for you.
So this is revised.
Yeah, that's my revision, yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, you already got a copy, right? Okay, all right. You need one?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Oops.
all right, where are the assessors? Okay, so, is Ken not here still? Okay, so I don't know what version you had, Mr. Rudden, but the version that I started with, that I modified, had the 140 total for assessor. And no, you don't need to, no, I'm just gonna tell you something quick, right? And so. Including the senior worker. Correct, that's right, 140, yeah. And so one of the places I got some of the money was 10,000 from that. I'll find it from somewhere else since you guys voted tonight to keep it at the 30,000 increase you wanted. So just bear with me on that, okay? But you're near where you need to be, okay? Just so you know. All right, so what I did to pull that off is is I took out the maintenance guy and the extra maintenance money. Now, I know that's something we need and want to have, right? But it's just, again, it's all a matter of prioritizing and meeting the obligations that we have for the people of Mendon. The other problem I have with the existing budget is that there's no reserve for salary negotiations. We gotta have something in there. And I know Ms. Newman's included 1.75 in the budget line items already, but I think we need to protect ourselves from the possibility that we need to negotiate maybe something more during contract negotiations. So what this, my version shows is pretty much exactly like the version that Ms. Newman handed out, except for, it still contains a school resource officer, and I'll explain how I got it covered for in the budget in a minute, right? I removed the maintenance and the additional maintenance money. In this budget, I've got a $10,000 less in overlay, and I'll find another spot to take that, right? So based upon today's vote, but that's not a big deal. Then to completely fund the police station debt, like I mentioned, and then to cover for the school resource officer. So just a quick thing on this, and I'd be surprised if anybody would disagree. But Superintendent Maruschek has offered us, for anybody that doesn't know, an additional $15,000 to fund the school resource officer. And that would give us a full-time school resource officer. Right now, Chief Kersey, you have really half a person doing that job. We need a full-time person doing that job. And you can't hire a half a person, so we gotta figure the amount to hire a whole person. And we know just from news accounts and everything how important and critical the school resource officer was even in the last attack that occurred. So we really need somebody there full-time. So to pay for that, the approach I took was to decrease the levy headroom we had created over the last several years from $168,000 to $123,000. Now, just to explain that in case anybody doesn't understand that, what that means is we have a levy limit every year that says that we're allowed, without a Prop 2.5 override, to tax up to the levy limit without an override. Now, we have been, over the last 3 years, $60,000 each year, we got further and further away from the limit, so we weren't taxing at the limit, okay? So we were $168,000 away from the limit coming into this year. So because of the importance of this, I would recommend that we scale back $45,000 of that limit to pay for that one additional thing, right? That's what I did there. And then increase reserve for salary negotiations from 0 to 41. So obviously with the $10,000 that we're not going to get from a reduction in overlay, that's going to go from 0 to 31,000. So that's the modifications I would recommend to the budget that Ms. Newman submitted and the Finance Committee submitted.
Rich, just on the 41 for the salary negotiations, did you figure out a percentage on that, or?
I'm sorry, say again?
How did you figure out the 41?
I just took whatever I could free up and put it in there.
Okay, so it
I mean,
wasn't
a gut swag, that's always kind of a gut swag number. I mean, I did talk to Ms. Newman about what we think we had a conversation about this. It's not a surprise to her. We
Right,
talked
that's
about
not just salaries. I mean, it's negotiation, so it's benefits too included.
No, I understand that. I was just wondering if you throughout your algorithm, if you were trying to shoot for a percentage or whatever else.
There's
So
no
it's just swag.
algorithm that went into that number.
Okay, that's all I was asking. All right, cool. All right. Okay. Jay?
Just to be clear on the school resource officer, we have over the years paid $20,000 to the town, and we budgeted 30, so that's an increase of 10,000, which is the agreement that we have.
Does that skew your number by $5,000, Rich?
Chief Kersey?
We asked for 35 from superintendent, I sat down in my office, and I didn't see anything in the budget yet, but that's what I
Our
asked.
budget has 30.
Yeah, I asked for half the cost of the position of police officer.
Okay, all right, so I'll have to go back and check on that. Okay. Then can I ask a question, or is it not time yet?
No, go ahead. You can ask a question.
On the $100,000 debt, have we already borrowed the money for the police station? We have.
Yep.
Is there a reason we don't spread the $100,000 out over the term of the debt as opposed to doing it all in 1 year?
I think you're missing the point, Jay. The idea is to defray within the budget $100,000 every year.
Okay, all right. Then
Yep. Okay, Mark?
I mean, I agree with you on the 100,000, and I know, to do this, to fund that 100,000, we had to take that maintenance person out, but these buildings are in need of attention, and I know we probably can't do it, but I mean, it's really getting to a point where their buildings are crumbling. I mean, we need someone to be on top of repairs. I don't know.
What are you carrying for operational expenses on repairs right now? How are you funding those?
We fund them as they come up, and this year, and you'll see on the warrant tonight, we have the senior center has a maintenance issue, the library has a maintenance issue, we've had repeated issues with the elevator, we just don't know, and then we normally have to go to FinCom to do transfers or find, this would be more of everyday
Okay.
maintenance.
So let me say two things. I forgot one thing here. Let me say that, and then I'll address the concern here, right? So the other thing I did not list in this here is it also includes lowering the the fire chief line item from $100,000 to $60,000 because Chief Harris only works part-time anyway. I don't think we're gonna get a full-time fire chief before the November special town meeting. But on top of that, we have I think, obviously, Assessor Rudden will probably agree with this, we have a very conservative assessor, right? So I think we're better off, and she's more comfortable with the approach typically, of going level service in the annual and only adding your ads in November when we know what the previous year's local receipts look like. So what I'm saying to you is I would be very surprised if we did not find that in November, we had the flexibility to add that with expansion in receipts. Right now, the estimation for FY19 receipts is based upon FY17, because we don't have 18 yet. We won't have it till November.
Right.
So I'm not recommending we don't do it. I'm saying we don't do it at annual town meeting, meet our obligation on the 100,000, and then consider in November that is one of the priorities, because then we'll know what we have.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we've gone long enough without someone, so a little more time may not be the worst thing, but I think that needs to be a top priority as soon as we can do it.
Yeah,
We
there's
need
no-
to have someone to be taking care of these buildings, especially with a new building being constructed, I mean, and the library building, I mean, we just have an obligation to have upkeep on these
But
buildings.
it's more than just the upkeep, though. We know darn well that if you don't take care of it soon or early, you end up spending more money in the long term. So I 1,000% agree with you. But at the same time, we still gotta live up to what we promised the people.
Well, the $100,000 for me is super important. We did make that promise for this year. We've been working very hard to be able to manage that. So I want to, excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold, try to stay true to the 100,000. Making up the rest, the resource officer, from my standpoint, is really, really important, although we do have it part-time, funded part-time already. I'm really concerned about the deferred maintenance on these buildings, and it's gonna cost us a lot more outsourcing it than it is to be doing it internally. And the less we do to these facilities, the harder it's gonna be to bring them up to speed. And it's just normal day stuff. It's changing light bulbs, it's, fixing plugs, it's whatever. So, in my opinion, we could do one or two things. We can fund the resource officer and take your plan, or we can just do a part-time resource officer for now and take some of that money and fund the maintenance man.
Now, if we do that, though, we throw away 15 grand from the school to expand that to full-time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, I'm unwilling to stare any parent in the face and say, no, we didn't put a full-time resource officer, they weren't there when a guy busted into the school with a gun. I mean, I don't want that on my conscience.
No, I mean, that's obviously higher priority for me than the maintenance person.
Well, I'm just trying to show the different
Right.
options, that's all I'm trying to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I understand. So again, my recommendation would be to make that a top priority for November, when we know what our receipts are for FY19.
Kim, you have any comments on this?
Rich and I worked through this list together. I'm comfortable with his choices here. We went through every line to see where we could find to make this 100,000. I obviously have prioritized the things in the same order that you have. We've been asking for a number of years to have some sort of maintenance. Do I think 6 additional months is gonna make a huge impact in that? No, but I would really stress that we have got to get it in the budget in November. Hopefully we have it and we can prioritize it then.
Okay.
But our top two priorities in November then would be meeting whatever our finally negotiated contractual obligations are, number one, and then number two would be the maintenance officer, the maintenance approach. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with this.
What does our finance committee think?
Yeah,
I have a question.
go on.
So, in the budget that you distributed out tonight at 5 o'clock, you have included the school resource officer in the budget at $50,606.
Yes,
Okay. Not included in the budget that you distributed at 5 o'clock is $100,000 for the police station
correct,
and $41,000 for the reserve of salary negotiations.
correct.
All right. So if I'm doing the math, that's $141,000.
31, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be 31 instead, because I'm not gonna get the,
It's $131,000
yeah.
because of the overlay.
Do you have this copy, this?
I do. I have both.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to bridge here.
Yeah.
So out of that $131,000 of the ads, now you say you're going to come back and have takes, and those takes were $45,000 from the levy,
Yeah.
$21,519 for the part-time maintenance person.
Yeah, I just took out an even 20, I think, is what I did. And then I went even 20 on the additional maintenance.
Budget for the maintenance person.
Yeah. And then another 40 out of the fire chief line item. That should be somewhere close.
It's $125,000.
Yeah, there must be another 5 somewhere. I'd have to go back and look at my details, but.
Okay, so if I go over the revised budget that you distributed to us this afternoon, I'm gonna see the reductions in the fire chief's salary.
Yes,
In the one I just gave you, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you'll see it go from 100 to 60. Yeah.
The math works, and we'll bring it up next week when the FinCom meets to
Right.
discuss the changes.
Absolutely.
But as a private citizen, I'm all for the school resource officer, so it's good to see you guys prioritizing that.
Any other comments or questions regarding the budget? Alan?
yes.
Out of the revised or out of the budget that Kim submitted?
Well, we'll have a new budget now. Rich's version,
The page?
if you have Rich's version, you should have the department budgets now.
Yeah, they're missing a few
Oh,
pages here.
it didn't print both sides? No. Okay.
Looks like it didn't print both sides, sorry about that.
But Rich's version is the current version now.
Okay. So take that out and rip it up anyways.
Right.
Was that what Ellen had, the version of the
Yes.
Yep,
Can I just ask one other question?
Sure.
Pertaining to the budget. I just was wondering what the hourly salary or rate will be for the new town clerk coming in? I see a number, but that's not the number I had worked out with information about.
Your budget hasn't changed the amount that's in there.
Oh, no, I thought I did.
No, it wasn't adjusted. I just checked it. Didn't look adjusted.
So it is adjusted. Recommended is 45,577, where requested is 57,750.
Kim just showed me the budget at 5 o'clock.
Right. We're gonna have to have an additional conversation.
Excuse me. Everybody, one person at once, please. Rich, you could have done that, I don't care. I was deep in thought here.
So, I was just speaking with council about this before this meeting. Technically, that budget is still the current town clerk's budget to present on the floor at annual town meeting.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So the rate that is in there now is the bottom of the salary range at
Yeah.
a reduced number of hours. Is that?
I don't
did you
think we
change
were-
the hours?
no, I don't
So
think
then
we
it-
did
Okay,
that.
so then it's just, good, because, good. So then the rate that's in there is whatever the bottom step is.
2692.
It's,
So it doesn't include the 1.75%, doesn't the chart go up?
It was after the adjustment of the chart, I believe.
right.
So I have last year, I have this current fiscal year's chart is what I was given.
I have 2739 is the rate.
And is the hours going to change?
It's up to the clerk, I guess.
'Cause, I mean, my salary is based at 33 hours.
Right.
Right now. So are you reducing the salary at the hours?
We don't,
You don't decide that.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
39.
Any other comments on the budget? Mr. Schofield, I appreciate all the work that you put into this. It is addressing the issues that we've talked about in the past. Obviously, we want to get this, obviously get the budget balanced, and then hopefully in November, we'll see where we land and try to chip away at some of the other stuff that is being requested.
Yep.
Agreed?
Yes,
Mark?
thank you, Rich, and the town administrator as well for
Yeah.
working with the board on coming up with this budget.
Yeah.
You will have to, right, make a motion on this budget so that I can bring it to the FinCom for their hearing, which will be before.
The 4th.
Okay, so in order to make that motion, we'd have to vote for it, this as amended, we have to reduce the salary reserve for negotiations to 31 from 41, and put back to 140 the assessor's overlay, okay? So that's, it would be this budget with those two
Why
modifications.
would we have to do a motion?
The board has to recommend a
Yeah, we
budget to the FinCom,
Yeah, but
and then the
we always-
FinCom has a public hearing on the board's recommended budget, and then we bring it to town
we
meeting.
usually do it in the public hearing, I guess.
No, the FinCom does that in the public
Right.
hearing, not us.
Last year, we did it together. That's why it's confusing.
Maybe, yeah,
This,
okay,
the
yeah,
year
yeah.
before, we've done it separately.
Thank you.
That's why you came prepared.
I'm just gonna fumble.
Okay. Okay, so did you get those two things I said before already?
That's what was confusing me.
Now I'm gonna make the motion.
Like,
Okay, so I'm just gonna say, I make a motion to approve and recommend to the Finance Committee the budget as presented in my submission document with the two changes that Laura, let's just double check them. 41,000 to 31,000 on salary reserve for negotiations, reserve for salary negotiations. And number two, an increase of assessor's overlay from 130 back up to the 140 that they wanted. Okay?
All right,
Second.
any further discussion on that, guys? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Kim.
welcome.
Okay,
All set?
We should look to see if we need to post it, if it's an actual public hearing. Just might want to check with Jean.
Do we have a public hearing date yet?
Will do. I don't know if the public hearing is posted for the 4th, but a FinCom is meeting
Right.
is posted for the 4th, so we'll check with Jean to make sure that it's a,
Was that your target date, the 4th,
yeah.
for the hearing? Okay.
Thank you.
all right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, discuss the annual town meeting warrant.
Next week.
I hope we have copies of it.
Yeah.
We need it. Okay. Just get all my notes.
I agree with Mark, Ms. Newman, nice job on the budget.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Okay. So, Town council and I reviewed with Laura this afternoon the articles in the budget. Board needs to decide which articles will stay and which articles will go. I will go through them one at a time. Just stop me if you have additional questions. Somebody raising, okay.
No.
Okay, I've also invited any board or commission or department that has an article on this warrant to attend tonight and to come up to speak to their article.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a question on process. I don't remember how we've done this in the past years. I can't believe I can't remember, but are we going to just informally decide whether we want something on or off and just vote once at the end? We have
Yes.
to ratify this today, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
what you want to do?
yeah, that's what we've done in the past. So I don't,
So we don't have to vote on it? each
Right,
one?
I'm assuming that the motion at the end will be to sign with pending town
Fine,
council
good.
approval.
Thank you.
Okay. Article 1, just whether out of order. Article 2 is Chapter 90. Article 3 is salaries and compensations of elected officials.
Okay, we don't have that chart yet, do we?
No.
Okay, but no matter what, we need it, so, yeah.
Article 4 is the budget. Article 5 is the cyclical inspection program for the assessor. And then Article 6 is the update valuation account. I don't know if you want Kevin to come up to speak to these,
No, these are
Okay.
things we do every year, right? I mean,
Okay,
there's
well-
nothing new, right?
just in case people at home are curious what the article.
Oh, okay, well, whatever you'd like to do, Mr. Chairman.
no, we do it every year, it's fine. You can
Okay.
go.
7 is police grants. 8 is OPEB. So before I keep going, because we've just essentially approved a budget without any additional special articles included, raise and appropriate is not an option for the things that are listed in the budget. The FinCom will need to find another funding source. We have $92,000 available in free cash, and then $300,000 in CapEx, and then 6 or 7 in stabilization. Those are our current funding sources. Okay, just letting you know, because we have a number of requests for expenditures on here that will go to the FinCom that exceed the amount of money that we currently have available, so they obviously cannot all stay on the warrant, just so you know.
Okay, sorry, before you go any further, I want to go back to Article 4.
Go for it.
Can you make sure you check with town council on what the right vehicle is for that police station debt? Because we've got it listed under special articles, which means we'd have to have an article on this warrant for it.
If it's
Because
in-
it's not
As
inside,
opposed
it's
to
not
being-
inside Article 4.
Right.
Article 4 ends with miscellaneous.
Okay,
So you'd have to create a line item.
correct, well, we can add it right now.
So we have to have a line item in, we have to have an article in the warrant that says that we're gonna raise money for that, just like,
So,
like everything
well, we
else.
can do
We
this
can,
right now,
or
because
can't you
we,
put a line item in the budget?
no, because it's a special, it's one time, and so
I don't know.
it makes more sense to do special article.
I think so too,
considering-
then it goes in a
Right.
bucket and sits there and we pull it out when,
Right, because what operating budget would we add it to?
right.
So, assuming that we aren't putting any money into OPEB this go-around,
Well, I don't think we can.
I can
think we wait
add
till
this
November.
article right now, which,
Okay, that doesn't, so just so nobody misunderstands, that doesn't mean we're not gonna ever head to OPEB. We just suggested we wait till November to do that.
correct.
I would take that off until November.
Yeah, that's what I think we
So
should
I'm
do,
gonna
and we know
change,
what our
I'm gonna
balances are.
changing Article 8 to the police station.
Please,
debt.
yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Chris, could I ask
Yep.
a favor? When you finalize all of this and get the order, can you confirm with Margaret so that we get all the consent calendars together instead of spread out all over the whole warrant? We did this last year as well.
You wanna rearrange the articles so that they work that way, that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the ones that are consent calendar that we do every year, so we can just do them all in order instead of saying, you know,
Right.
we're gonna
Yep.
vote on consent calendar, Articles 4, 7, 9, 13, 17,
Right.
21, and
Um,
80.
Right now, I'm only seeing 5, 6, 7, and 9 as consent calendar articles. Everything else is.
5,
different.
6.
And then we usually do the revolving accounts and the consent calendar, but I see that you have them condensed into one article.
Right, we have to adopt the bylaw. Right,
Because you have to change something.
right.
Right.
So, yeah, so if we could just move,
5, 6, 7,
swap
9.
8 and 9, then.
5, 6, 7, and 9.
And 9, yeah, have them all together.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Police station debt added.
Okay, so based upon that whole exchange and what we just talked about, you're gonna flip-flop 8 and 9 and make 9 the new police station, right? That's what
Right,
you're
we
saying.
probably will rearrange the order anyway for,
Thanks.
get all the FinCom together, all, you know. Okay, okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. 5-year land use. Article 10 is scenic road bylaw. Article 11 is 7,500 Muddy Brook planting
Hold on,
account.
yeah.
Yep. We have a person here for this.
Yeah, you,
Okay. Ann, can you come up? I need to ask a question about the next one anyway. And remember, we can't hear the audience.
oh, yeah, that's true. We gotta get a microphone out there. Thank
How's
you.
the hand? Getting better?
Yeah, I get it off in like a week.
Is there a line item that is Muddy Brook planting account? Where is that money right now?
It was taken out of the land bank and
I
set
can't hear
aside.
her. Can you ask the question again? I didn't.
Okay, so I was asking if I wanted to know what the sources were for this. So it's the 75, this Muddy Brook planting account, if this money came from the land bank? Okay, not the 350th? Correct, just clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's from that account back to the land bank because you didn't
Yes.
use it for the trees?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that it?
Okay.
Just to summarize, if we hadn't talked about this before, so $7,500 was approved for special plantings for the 350th. The conditions weren't right, the land wasn't right, and so the money is going back into the account for future purpose.
Okay.
You can just stay. 'cause-
I can? Okay.
Yeah. So Article 12 is the Pheno debt, okay?
Did you ask last time how many more years of that left, Rich? Was it you?
Yeah, yes, I
Do you
did.
know how much
I
longer?
think it's like 3 years,
Yeah,
something
we're
like
pretty
that.
close.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Okay, so now you're all set.
Sorry.
I'll have to call you back in a minute.
Thank you.
Article 13 is to transfer from available sources a sum of money to replace the furnace at the Mendon Senior Center.
Okay, looks like Mr. Rudden's gonna come up
Oh,
and
yeah.
talk about that. And Amy, hi Amy, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Okay, as you may or may not know, we have a 26.5 to 27-year-old furnace that went through a catastrophic breakdown last year. The FinCom was gracious enough to transfer about $1,300 out of the reserve fund to cover it. The gentleman who fixed it said basically put an extra $1,000 in your budget for the next 3 or 4 years until it absolutely dies, or get a new one. And we figured it made more sense to not waste $3,000 or $4,000 and then get a new one. Amy's got some cost figures,
Excuse me.
just for talking to people, ranging from about $6,050 up to $9,600, just talking to different vendors. So we had put in a placeholder of $10,000, hoping it's less, but basically it's 27 years old and it's not even made anymore, and it's way out of line in terms of efficiency. And the question is, do you throw good money after bad for the next couple of years to nurse it along, or do you bite the bullet now and say, you were talking about maintenance before, 27 years old. How many people who have a house where the furnace is 27 years old?
So, I've talked to Bill McHenry on this because we replaced.
As did we.
Right, and we replaced this building's furnaces with Green Communities funding. And I know he was still looking into it. Is that right, Ann? Do you know if he's still, have you talked to him at all?
What he told us is, A, there's nothing available for another year, and B, he's told us twice it didn't qualify. He told us the last go-around of Green Communities, we didn't qualify, and then the last correspondence we had, Amy reached out to him, was we don't have any Green Communities money until calendar 19, or even calendar 20, I can't remember what he said, but it's
Okay,
a couple
well.
of years out. And quite honestly, I think it's gonna die before then.
Ann?
The next round of grant funding that we can participate in
March 2019, so that's a possibility that, you know, the furnace could be bought with Green Communities at that point.
Yeah, I don't think we want to wait that long, in my opinion.
So there, but the funding, the 1,000 for the general maintenance is currently in the budget still.
It is in the budget, and being really candid, if this were approved as a separate article, when you get to November town meeting, we have no problem with you taking that back out of the budget, because it was put in there specifically
Or
if this
reverse.
didn't pass. So if this doesn't pass, we have the money to nurse it along. If this does pass, we don't need it, and we'll be more than happy to transfer it back at the fall town meeting.
How about this? Can I make a proposal here, or did you want to
Please.
go ahead? So what if we do it in reverse? And if in the meantime it dies, we'll go to FinCom and get an emergency transfer for the entire replacement. That way, we don't have, because we don't have funding sources right now for this ATM. Either if it lasts till November, we'll prioritize it at the STM.
Why don't we? We have
Well, we
CapEx.
could, but,
Oh, that's right.
It's actually
We
under
can't take out a
CapEx.
cap.
It's not
enough. It's not
25.
big enough.
It's,
and so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
a,
hate that.
but either
Go through the
way.
summer.
Right, if it lives through the summer, and then it happens to die in September, will be terrible, but we've got the 1,000, and we could go to FinCom and do emergency. There's 40 in there, currently, right now, like, so,
yeah, they also, we raised that question with them when they gave us the emergency transfer, and they said basically, bring it to Kim and let you all decide.
yeah. Either way, it gets done before November.
Okay.
Or by
Okay,
November.
but we could still, I don't know. That we could take it out of stabilization.
You could, yeah?
No, it seems like a lot of farting around for something you know is dead and broken and.
What I'd like to do candidly is, no matter how you decide it, it makes sense to do it before next winter comes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's in
Absolutely.
there and up and running.
Well, not only that, but we're going to gain efficiencies on it, you know, with the new boiler.
But if we are able to use Green Communities funds, and we're only making, we need to make it to spring 19,
Yeah,
that's,
but that didn't sound promising. You said Bill McHenry said we don't
The
qualify
last
any.
go-around, he told, didn't he tell you it wasn't eligible, the last one?
Right, yes.
So I don't know why, but he told us the last go-around of Green Communities money, he came in, he looked at every furnace in town, and he said ours was not eligible back then. And
First
he talked
did
to
it-
him again this time, and what did he say this time?
When
about
we first
eligibility?
did the auditing, it was not eligible at that time. That was 2014, I believe, or earlier. And the reasoning was, the company that did the audit, the benefit of efficiency wasn't great enough at the time to do the replacement.
Okay.
Things may have changed, so, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's still
Well,
potential there, but.
personally, I don't care how it's done, but we just need to get it done because we may not, and I hate to bring it up, but we are the heating shelter in the winter at
We have been used as a warming station during these winter
And we-
storms.
And actually, when it broke, Amy was on vacation, and we were closing down activities, and I was running around trying to find somebody to repair it immediately, and was lucky enough to get somebody to come in on about a 2-hour notice.
So I get what you're saying, but if you have the flexibility to diddle around a little bit, you know, I like this grant thing, but if you're in a situation where, like we're in now, I don't know, I'd just rather see it get.
Well, you know, my experience is when you react to something, you end up spending more money, and it's not a proactive approach. And,
Well, we're kind of past that because of things and.
no, but what I'm saying is that if we sit there and wait for it to break again, and we spend another $1,000 on it, we're spending another $1,000, and then we're gonna replace it.
Oh, so you're saying the same thing I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd rather just replace it.
Just replace it and be sure that it's gonna be replaced, and we can, you know, pick the timing on when we're gonna replace it. You
I'd
know,
like to keep it on my opinion is I'd like to keep it on here and
We'll talk to
and
the
get it
FinCom.
from
Yeah.
stabilization, see what
And
FinCom
you
is.
could always pass over if it's eligible for Green Communities.
Yeah,
Well, you're still gonna have to spend the money though and then
Yeah.
get reimbursed, so.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just curious how it's related to the next article.
It's not.
It's not.
Okay.
It's a different
So
building.
I guess the question is, are we looking to expand the senior center?
Yes,
And so are we gonna be buying a furnace for the old senior center versus the new senior center?
we don't know. We need the money to determine that.
Yeah, so the money in the next article is just to do a study to see if they're gonna expand and then
But what he's
eventually.
saying is, are you gonna buy a furnace now
And have to
and then
replace
have
it
to
in-
buy a bigger furnace for a larger
No,
building in 5
the
years?
furnace that we're seeking now is for the existing building.
Right, but
Any addition built would have its own HVAC system. It would be separate.
Yeah, I think,
because you were telling me it's a separate building completely from what you've heard.
It depends on what we're hearing about where the well is.
With the
We
wells.
have a well under consent decree, and the whole idea was to put the driveway down there. Put the driveway in there, we have to relocate a public water supply, and instead of being under the consent decree, there's a lot of rules.
yeah, I'm not,
Mr. Chairman, all we have to do tonight is decide whether we want to keep it
yeah,
on.
I wanna keep it on then, so,
So I think, I like to keep it on there. We can have
We
a
can
detailed debate later, I guess, but.
yeah, I'd like to keep
Okay.
it on there.
Okay.
Article 14.
Article 14 is, we're making our annual request for funds to do the architectural and site engineering study of an expansion, so that when that's done, which will probably be 12 to 18 months, we could come in with a figure and decide whether, and then have the town decide whether they want to go ahead with the badly needed addition to the center. And that would be built on the land that, if you remember, the 1 acre on the Paddock D'Alessandro property, we bought with town funds about 3 or 4 years ago.
How much are you looking for?
20.
And what are we suggesting the sources for that?
Well, we aren't, but I would suggest free cash. I think the study needs to move forward sooner than later.
And you guys all know, we're turning people away now
Right.
from that.
So we can wait and see what the FinCom recommends.
I have no problem keeping it on.
I'm getting close to spending twice a week playing cribbage down there, so I want it.
I'm finding it interesting that I relate more to the people there than anywhere else in town. And I'm only 64.
Let's, for the sake of
So,
time, let's move it
do
on.
you-
I have no problem keeping it on.
Yeah,
Do you want me to make a recommendation to FinCom about potential funding source?
I'm happy with whatever they recommend.
Any? Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll keep it on. All right,
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, Jim?
Jay, you're up.
There does need to be more discussion around that whole thing, though.
I think you're right, yeah.
Gotcha. So this is for, it looks like a stabilization account request?
Correct.
This is to allow us to set up a stabilization account in our books, not in yours, but we can't do that without permission from both towns. That's all it is. Doesn't appropriate any money to it, it just allows us to create the account. The reason behind it is we have 2 years' worth of MSBA reimbursement from the Nipmuc-Misco project that came in after the debt was all paid off. This current year and next year, and we'd like to put that money into a stabilization account for other future capital things that we've got. I mean, we've got a capital project list of about $6 million. We're hoping we can address at least 1 or 2 of them without having to come to the towns for money.
Okay, what's the
What are
balance?
some of those?
Pardon me?
What's the balance right now that you didn't spend on the debt?
It's 300, here, I wrote it down, 337,880 each year, so the total is 669,760.
For how many years?
Just this year, this current year and next year.
337, is that what you said?
Yeah, 337,880. So for reasons I don't understand, we got the way that project worked is they reimbursed us on an annual basis then, as opposed to as you pay the bills, they reimburse you now. For some reason, there was a 2-year lag. I don't know why. So we got Nipmuc's money as the debt got paid off. The last one was last year, the debt was paid off, but it was 1 bond, not 2, because it was 1 project when it was approved. So we have 2 extra years of money coming in, and we would apply it to the debt, but the debt had to be paid off before we ever got the money.
Right,
So we couldn't change any of that. So the rules are it goes into our general fund. My fear is that if it goes into the general fund, it just gets spent on anything, and I really think we have some capital things that we need to address, and it seems like a better way, but you need to set up a separate
Which
account to
frankly
do
is
it.
exactly what Dr. Fitzpatrick does at BVT. It's exactly what he does.
Yeah. So we've never had an account like this, and I didn't realize this, but apparently we need both towns to vote to allow us to set it up. Then we established the account, we would take this year's money, put it into that, and then next year's money and put it into that. And I have actually applied for some MSBA funding to fix a section of the flat roof at Nipmuc that's been leaking for quite some time now. And we think the cost will probably be in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. So if we could get that approved, get some money from them, use some of this money, we could at least address one big problem we have. But, I brought it with me, but I don't want to go through it, but we have $5.6 million worth of potential projects that are going to need to get done in the next 10 years.
So I want to make something crystal clear in an attempt to reduce the amount of contact I get tomorrow, people saying, why are we giving more money to the school? Right, which is not, we're not doing that, right? All we're doing is voting to approve the school to create an account. That's it, that's
Right.
really it.
That's it.
Create
There's
an
no
account for
appropriation.
them to put their own money into, money they have already, right? So I think that's clear. I think even having said that, I bet I still get some.
And just to make it
Nasty
clear, because it was on a bond, you have to spend that on a capital project, is that
I
correct?
don't think he does.
No, we actually goes into our general fund, so
So
if we
it's not
don't
in
do
the same
this.
apply the same rules that we had to, on our last one?
No, this is a different
Yeah.
type of article.
That money can be used for anything, but I think it's a mistake to use it for recurring costs when it's one-time money.
100%. I was just going to say the same thing.
You know, so,
Exactly.
I was getting confused because we got into a bind on our last bond
Yeah.
where they funded a certain rate and we had to spend the money, so.
right.
It's coming up.
That was a little different, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is so MSBA has changed how they do it. So now when you do a project, every month, basically, you send them your bills that you paid, and then they say, okay, your reimbursement's 38%, so here's 38% back, and they send you checks. So when you go to do your final borrowing, you only borrow the money you actually had to borrow because you paid off all the other stuff already.
Okay.
So it's a much better process, quite honestly. And it does a monthly audit as well, so you don't have to pay for some exorbitant audit at the end. So this is just to establish an account. We're not coming and asking for money or anything else. We just want to be able to set up this account. so
Well, I
we
think
put money aside.
the other question is although the school already has the money, some folks might ask, why don't you just give it back to the taxpayers?
Well, the only way we could do that would be to use it to offset like future debt, and it would be 2 years, and then your debt rate would go right back up because you still have 7 or so to pay on Clough. So you could reduce your debt exclusion, so you're outside the levy limit, assessment for 2 years, and then it goes away.
But
And then we'll be coming to you at the same time for another debt exclusion to pay for some of these other things,
Right.
which of course you can vote.
Well,
yes
you're
or
gonna
no
do
on.
that anyways. You got $5-6 million
Well,
worth of stuff.
what we're trying to do, I mean, we've actually funded by just, having money left at the end of each year, we funded about $1.2 million worth of projects already over the last 6 or 7 years.
$100,000 for the police station.
So the reimbursements that you have been getting more regularly, you said
I'm sorry?
it's been 2 years backlog?
This year and next year. This current year, so we already have this year's money, it's sitting in our accounts.
In the past, when you were getting them more often, it was just going to the general fund?
No, in the past, when you got your debt assessment analysis, you saw that we owed $3 million minus $1.2 million from MSBA, here's the balance due.
Okay.
Assessed to the towns, that's how it would go. So if we don't do it this way, then we're gonna take the debt and we're gonna say, okay, you owe us X amount of dollars. I think the debt for next year is about $350,000, let's say. So you'd get half of that approximately, so you'd have your debt reduced by $150,000, $175,000 for 2 years. But it's not, you can't use it for operational costs either because it's coming outside the levy.
So
It's not gonna help your operational budget at all. All we do is help.
No,
your debt
I'm just saying,
exclusion.
you throw it at the police station in a special article.
You can't, because you're never gonna actually get cash, you're just gonna pay us less on your assessment, but you can't assess that on the operational side because you're assessing it outside the 2.5 levy.
that wouldn't make any sense to me either anyway, because look, they're gonna run into, run into all the time, capital needs, just like we do. We got $3 million backlog. One thing that would get me all cranked up though is if some reason that we were building some fancy field with in-ground irrigation, well, then we'd have a different conversation, right? But we're talking about.
We're gonna bury the money in the ground. I mean, that's where we keep our cash.
All right.
And if you have any questions, call Rick Schofield tomorrow.
And I apologize that I don't understand all the nuances on how this all moves
Yeah.
around. I'm just trying to be creative and trying to make up something on
Right.
the other end if we can.
Well, so from the town side, you're allowed to assess within the levy, you get a 2.5% increase and all that, but outside the levy, you do the debt exclusions until the debt goes away and then the assessment goes away. That's where this falls into. is outside the levy limit.
Okay. Okay. Guys?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Okay?
Thank you, Jay.
thank you.
Article 16 is giving the board authorization to start discussions, giving counsel on the Trask property, which is a
Who put that in here? I'm kind of surprised it's even in here. There's like no advantage. Like, it's such a no-brainer to not take it.
I disagree.
I can't even believe we could, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, that tells you that.
Okay,
So this article would just allow for discussions to actually occur. As you know, there are some unique circumstances surrounding this property, and so this gives you the authorization to move forward on that.
Okay.
And even if you decide not to pursue it, at least council
Right.
can start.
yeah.
Have the option.
That's fine. We'll keep it on.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Article 17 is the vote to change the town clerk position from elected to appointed.
Okay.
If you choose to leave this on the warrant,
I would like to leave it on.
it will require a ballot question, which you will have to prove the wording of tonight, which I have.
This is my reasoning. I really, honestly, I don't care strongly either way if it's appointed or elected, because I see both sides to the argument. The only reason I think it should be on here and should go to the ballot is that we're at a transition point where the town clerk is retiring, and so the voters should have an opportunity to weigh in and decide if they want it to be appointed or if they want to keep it elected. And if we're going to ask that question at any point, it should be now. If they say they want it, if they vote it down, then it stays elected. If they choose it to be appointed, I personally believe the person who is elected in May should be the appointed person, if it switches to appointed.
I guess I'm fine either way.
I'm really.
I would have
I'm
to
neutral.
understand, I'm neutral on it too. I'd have to understand really, what the real benefit of the appointment would be, in order to try to change that one. I can definitely see it on Article 18, 100%. On 17, I'm kind of neutral on it. I'd have to really understand.
Well,
the benefits.
I'm neutral, but again, my point is, it should be a question asked of the voters at a transition point, which
Yeah.
we're at right now.
Yeah,
If they want to change it, it's up to them.
yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be out there campaigning for either one. I
Yeah.
think it's just an opportunity to ask the question.
So just to add some context, on the appointed side, it provides the potential for the board to have more oversight over the department, regulate the hours, hire a person, advertise like we do for other departments. On the elected side, there's the possibility, and we're exploring this with council, that we would not have to continue providing benefits to an elected person. So there might be financial savings on the elected side, but that's going to be further explored. So
Okay.
those are the two main differences, or
Are we going to have that information prior to the,
we're working on it. We were.
okay, I'm getting a head nod. All right, I need to understand that one more, but I don't mind keeping it on, but I don't.
The issue I have with it is I just don't want to, I don't know that there's enough of a benefit to continue to listen to criticism about the Board of Selectmen having too much control. Right? I listen to that a lot, which I don't think we do anything that we're not statutorily allowed to do, right? Okay, so I would disagree with that assessment, anybody who says it, but by the same token, it makes it look like that a little bit, that you go,
But then they'll vote it down.
Well, I will say this, the one benefit of the appointed is this, is that you're getting somebody who is really versed and astute in the position. It took years for Margaret to get to where she is, obviously.
but we ended up with Clerk of the Year.
We did.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just trying to.
I see that aspect, but I also think that whoever goes into that role will learn the job.
Yep.
And, the job is, there's a lot of statutory aspects to the job. This is the job, and this is how you do it. So, you know, there is that piece of it. But I think, again, for me, it's about giving the voters the opportunity to make the choice. Other towns around us, Upton has an appointed town clerk, other towns do around us. But the reason I think it should be done now, and the question asked now, is just because of that transition aspect. I wouldn't say we do it, you know, if Margaret said I'm running for 3 more years, I would say, no, we're not gonna ask that, you know, to change it to appointed now.
Right.
But at this point in time,
I'm fine with
just put it
keeping
on the ballot and let
I'm-
people
I'm all-
decide, and
okay.
if they want to keep it elected, it will stay that way.
I'm like you, I'm not,
Either
pushing
way.
it either way.
But I
really
do
am.
think that if it's changed to appointed, the voters also will be electing a new clerk, and I think at that point, we should appoint, if it's changed to appointed, we should appoint that person
Whoever wants,
for
yeah.
3 years.
I have no problem keeping it on. I'm just, you know, trying to formulate what the discussion point is gonna be, the night that we put it in front of the taxpayers on either to support or not support this.
Well, I don't
It's
think
gonna
we
be more than a
really, do
transition.
we really, as a board, need to choose a position on this?
I don't think we need to choose a position, but we need to be able to at least outline, you know, why it's being looked at. So anyways, all right, let's move on.
Okay. Article 18 is to change the highway surveyor position from elected to appointed.
I feel strongly about that one. I want
Yeah,
to keep
me
that on
too.
there.
That one's different.
Okay.
So maybe, again, we should caveat these by saying this is no reflection of the people currently serving in the
Absolutely not.
positions who
Right.
are doing excellent
I
jobs.
don't know, the first thing we want to do is get rid of him.
No, that's not allowed. He can stay. Right. Margaret can come back.
And I
Those
think
are
he's
their options.
agreed to this,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because, you know, I said we wouldn't do this to Margaret in the middle of her term, and yet we're doing it to Alan in the middle of his.
Don? Don?
I'm gonna finish my term
Right,
Right.
before this kicks in.
correct. So he would be allowed to stay in the position, and then the board would, until the board appoints someone, so they could actually potentially, he could finish his term and they can appoint him right away, same.
Okay, go ahead.
So then these 2 articles go on the election warrant as well.
Yes, so I have the language for both, we'll do that, we can do it after, I'll print it out, you can review the language, and then you can approve the ballot language as a separate motion. Okay?
So just, we didn't really say why that's different to us. I'd like to say, just
Yeah.
spend a second, just say why I think it's different, right? So not that there's not a lot of expertise. Hello, Alan.
Sorry.
He doesn't pay attention very well, does he?
After he's elected right now.
That's it.
Hence the reason why I want to appoint him.
This does impact my thinking around the clerk a little bit too, but I don't know, it seems like a bigger hill to climb. That, you know, theoretically, somebody could graduate from high school and have never done any kind of, the kind of work that Alan does at all, and have no relationships with all the people Alan has relationships with, and all the institutional knowledge, and they could run and get a whole bunch of their classmates to vote for him and have a low election turnout, and bang, you got an 18-year-old that's highway surveyor.
Right.
You're
I mean,
right.
you could have the same thing, could be, clerk too, theoretically, could happen to clerk too.
Well, I said today, you know, you need experience in engineering and, you know, all of the technicalities that are involved with highway surveyor, where clerk is statutory, you learn what needs to be done, there's a lot to be done in that office, but you learn it. Whereas in the highway, there's a lot of unknown aspects, you really need a lot of knowledge to be in that role. So you're not gonna have maybe someone who's in finance run for highway surveyor, because they're not gonna know
Right.
the technical aspects of the highway surveyor.
Also manages a number of positions
gonna say,
that are
management
employed
oversight.
by the town.
It's
So
a department
We
oversight.
have town employees being managed by an elected person, which is kind of tricky.
Yeah, absolutely. It's management and
Okay.
budgetary oversight.
Just wanted to make that point.
Okay.
Thank you.
This,
Hold on.
Dan and Kevin, you're up.
Water?
And Alan, didn't see you back there, Alan, sorry. You're hidden in the corner.
Same mistake I did.
Jimmy, you got no buns? Nothing?
Say it to John Dennis.
Go ahead, Kim.
Water.
Go ahead, guys. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, we are seeking to establish an enterprise fund for what is referred to in the budget as the water department, so we use that term in the warrant article. And what that would mean is that if we had a surplus or deficit in any given year, if we had a surplus, it would stay in that fund. If we had a deficit, we would be responsible for making it up out of that fund. But it also allows us to begin setting aside money to look at repairs that we know are coming up as we have 70-year-old mains in the street. And we need to start raising the rates to set aside money that when we have a repair, it's there, and we don't come back and ask the rest of the taxpayers to pay it. And should we ever expand the system, it's the proper way of handling betterment fees and the cost of doing that. I mean, right now, in order to do an engineering plan to tell you what it would cost to put water mains on any given street, would have to go to everyone in town to fund that. This would allow us gradually to charge enough to build that money up and do that. And if the system expands, it then becomes the function of it. The only difference that I could find after meeting with the DOR last week and reading their about 60,000 pages of info on enterprise funds, talking to 2 other towns that have them for their water and sewer departments, is there is a form that the town accountant fills out every year when the tax rate is set, and instead of entering zeros because you don't have one, they would then copy the number in out of the budget. So it's not really doing anything they don't do. And then, again, if we end the year with excess funds, they don't go into free cash. They stay in the enterprise fund. That's the difference.
What is your typical, what are you seeing? Are you seeing, how much excess are you seeing, or are you,
Well,
what do the numbers look like typically?
We're not really seeing that. We have to begin planning for that.
Okay.
Primarily because right now, if we raise the rates today to do that, and we end the year with a surplus, it goes in the general fund.
Okay. So you're saying planning-wise, you need this to
Well,
begin to,
We have a number of things the DEP just told us to do that we have to examine to see if we can pay for them. They do an audit every so many years. There's one thing in particular they didn't request, they told us we have to do it. That, our recourse right now is to say, well, we may have had a surplus, we may have had a deficit, but we need the money, like the meter repairs. This would keep it within that. You still appropriate the money within Article 4 with just a notation at the end of the budget that says this money is being appropriated into the general fund. Then when we issue a bill, somebody sends the money in, it gets credited into that fund accounting-wise, and when we pay a bill, it gets debited from that account accounting-wise. The only difference is if we have a surplus, it stays in that account. That's it. But it lets us build up. I mean, our contract with Hopedale charges us every year to look for another town supply. Right now, we don't even have money to hire an engineer to say, what if a town is interested, but they want us to put in our own meter pit and this and that and the other thing? We need somebody to help do all that. We'd have to come to a town meeting and ask the public to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
This way, it lets us build up over time. But, I mean, just looking at the length of the age of the pipe in the 140 corridor, something's gonna go soon. I just hope not in the next couple of years, because, just the state police details on 140 would kill you. I mean, that's basically the reason why.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a general problem with almost all revolving funds. I'm not interested in any of them.
It's not a revolving fund.
Yeah, I understand, but the effect is the same, right? The end effect is to earmark funds for only certain purposes based upon their source. Okay? It's the same issue I have with CPC, even though it puts me in a funny position because I'm on the CPC as a selectman, but I take issue with the concept of forced prioritization, because that's what it is. And that's what, to me, these enterprise or revolving funds, that's what they do. So I would not be, I'd prefer not to have the article on the warrant, or frankly, any of them.
Let me just explain the difference. We're dealing with is basically a user fee for service.
Right.
Okay? For the user fee we charge, there's one of us missing, but the four of us are the water department. You know, we hire people to manage the system, to take the tests, to do everything. If a main breaks, we're going to hire somebody to do that. Without this enterprise fund, we can never set aside and keep money for repairs, for expansion, which at the municipal vulnerability thing, the number one thing that came up was lack of water for firefighting, lack of water for business expansion. If by some chance we can ever negotiate it, we need the mechanism. This is what the Department of Revenue specifically recommends you do with water and sewer billing. It's not like we're doing this because we think it's a scam. This is how they recommend to do it.
Okay, so let me be crystal clear on something. So I agree with you. If we had more financial flexibility than we have now, I'd say, great, let's do it. Yeah, right? But we don't. We're still, so for every dollar that stays in the water fund next year, like if we were doing that this year, well, then we'd have to find more money, with however much stayed in their account. We'd have to find that much more money in the budget in order to balance it. I mean, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Sometimes people, I know you don't because you get it. I totally get that you get it. But some people talk about these enterprise funds like there's no cost to it. 'Cause you
There is a cost to it. We're very upfront about it.
Yeah.
But the issue comes down to then, Rich, that helps you in a short term. But how would you feel if we came to this board and said, we need $100,000 tomorrow to fix the completely collapsed water main on 140?
I'd feel okay. And the reason I'd feel okay about that is because then all the way up to that point, we will have had a single pot of money that we've been appropriating all along that's not forced to any particular destination that we make prioritization decisions against. And if that, at the time we need that, that's the priority, then we would do it.
But you're still appropriating money just like you would every year. You're still appropriating it to a line item, although the line item is now an enterprise fund.
No, I
The
get that.
only difference is, okay, so you have to understand, there is no incentive for this board without an enterprise fund to ever increase rates to build up a kitty to do that.
Yes, I get that.
No.
But you can't increase rates the way it is now anyway.
Yes, we can.
Oh, yeah, you could, but we're being charged so badly. I mean, come on, you know as well as I do, we're getting charged very high, and we're charging our water users a very high number.
Yes, and we're making out no money on it.
And we make no money on
I
it.
get that.
But unfortunately, I have to tell you, because up until 3 years ago, I sat on the other end of the fence, and anybody that remembers back 10 or 15 years, every time the Water Commission came in and asked for money, I screamed, why am I paying for it when they're not paying for my well? You want to hit up the taxpayers for $100,000 main, go right ahead. I'm not going to stand up there with you while you do it, because everybody with a well is going to be screaming, why am I paying for this?
But see, they still are. Because the only difference between the two things is that in the case that you've outlined, you sock the money away to the detriment of the general fund, having an enterprise fund where it otherwise would have gone into the
See, you can't look at it that way.
Why not? That's the way it happened. That's what's happening.
Because if you had an established water and sewer system, you would have already had an enterprise fund. And you already been doing it. You're not socking it to the detriment of the general fund. You're socking it away to the benefit of everybody in town that doesn't have water, that we're not hitting them up for higher taxes.
Yeah, I get that. But it doesn't work that way. But anyway.
Okay, well, let me ask you one question then. There is a possibility, I'd rate it at the 30% level right now, of connecting to another town. Okay, so by your theory, you're willing to go to all the voters in town and say, we need to appropriate $100,000 to bring water to 2 streets.
How about this? I
No, I
mean,
didn't
so
say
your
that.
argument might work against you, Kevin. What happens if we establish this, you put $5,000 into the thing and you need $100,000? You're still gonna do that, correct?
No, not necessarily.
Or are you gonna ask for $95,000?
Or because we have a dedicated revenue stream going into an enterprise fund, you can borrow and it does not count against the town's indebtedness. When you have a dedicated enterprise funded revenue stream, if you want to borrow to expand the system or replace pipes, as long as you're charging people for that and you show the dedicated fund, it doesn't impact the rest of the town's borrowing.
Not at that point, but it did up to that point. Because up to that point, money that would have gone into the general fund is now going into your enterprise fund. I mean, come on, there's always a cost to this stuff. I get it, I get what you're saying. But we don't have the financial flexibility to have bunches of enterprise funds. We just don't.
Let me give you a couple bits of data. It looks like at the moment that this fiscal year, we'll either have less than $5,000 surplus or $5,000 debt. We're that close. And if we fix the fire
I
hydrant,
didn't
I
follow
didn't
you.
follow that.
So that, I think what you're saying is that the entire
There-
net profit of the water system right now is
You're
plus or minus
talking-
$5,000.
trivial amount of money. It's not gonna be a huge amount of money.
When you compare our entire expenses versus our entire receipts, water bills, all that, the net difference
Okay,
is.
so, just so we understand, I was making a general point, how I generally feel about, me personally, feel about enterprise funds, okay? And that it does, no matter what, at the end of the day, that money comes from somewhere, and it comes from other uses we would have put it to in the general fund. There's no escaping that, right? But that doesn't, but having said that, that doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions to where we should have enterprise funds, and you're making a good argument. You're saying it's short cash. That's your argument,
I
right?
mean, there's a very well-defined set of customers and a very well-defined source. Basically, it's a little company. And there's no reason to pollute that with the rest of the town, one way or the other.
And that's the only reason why I might be in favor of that.
That's the most impactful argument.
And the other thing is to putting it on the warrant. Okay, you don't like it. Why not let the people who go to town meeting decide?
Because the
You
Board of
can make
Selectmen
your
get
argument.
that statutory authority to
Mark-
put something on it.
Mark, how do you feel on
We
this?
also have the statutory authority in November to petition it on.
Absolutely.
That's right. Mark,
Look, I think that, I see both sides of this argument, but this makes some sense to me, because I think that having the people that are on the water system paying for potential repairs downstream makes sense. So I think we should leave it on here.
Okay,
But I
so
agree with you, in certain circumstances, there are revolving funds that I don't necessarily love, but
Yeah, if we did that, like, for example, with the ambulance receipts, you're talking $200,000 a year.
yeah.
I mean,
No, but it makes sense. Yeah, but the ambulance, to that point, though, the ambulance, benefits the entire community versus what Mark's saying here is specific to.
So can I make a recommendation? So we have a number of different ones, right? A number of different enterprise funds on here, right? Can we just pause it and then we get to hear all of them, right? And then decide which ones we want to leave on here? Can we do that? Is that all right? Or do you want to just go ahead and say we're leaving?
I'll just say we're leaving on there,
Fine.
you're just following order.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy with leaving this one on here, I think it's, you guys had a pretty compelling argument, and we'll, just, as far as I'm concerned, just leave it up to the taxpayers on that one.
Done then.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, the next article is to fund repairs to the fire station. My understanding is there's about $20,000 to $25,000 worth of potential repairs that could be made to the fire station. We're still sorting through those numbers. Obviously, the funding source hopefully would be CapEx, depending on the number. So this is what this article is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hurd.
Can I just make a comment on that one? Those of you with long memories will know in my capacity as ADA coordinator, we're slowly whittling down all the list of ADA deficiencies, and the only one we never had money for was fixing the first floor public bathroom in the fire station, which 6 years ago or 7 years ago was estimated at $600. If you're going to spend 20, could you put in $700 so I can make that public and cross that building off?
Yes.
Because that will complete, my goal is to have everything else done in fiscal 19 except that. And if that got funded, then everything's done. Of course, it means I got to start over again, but it means everything's
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah.
All right,
That makes sense.
okay.
And I'm sure the chief has no idea what I'm talking about, but basically the bathroom behind your front desk is not handicap accessible.
I have no problem. I have no problem.
No, it's not the door. The door's fine. The toilet needs handrails and the sink is all wrong. It's a cabinet, and you can pull that out and make a wheelchair accessible.
What are the repairs,
Okay.
Kim? Do you know what the repairs they're looking for?
It's assorted, potentially adding egress upstairs, and then we have some insurance stuff we're sorting out with some leaks, so,
So the insurance could pay for it? potentially?
some of it. So we're undetermined what the final amount would be, but I would want to get one $25,000 worth of stuff, so we can
Yeah.
use CapEx, so that's still,
And I'm talking, Kim, no higher than $700, if that.
okay,
All right,
got it.
Thank you.
all right, let's move on. You guys want to
And,
keep it on, right?
Yep.
Move on.
and I need you,
Yeah, you can see outside in a couple of places. in the-
laptop
That
is
pisses me
dying.
off, actually.
Okay, so for
it through a
paddock,
window
did we
and
decide we were gonna leave or pull? We pull it up, okay, perfect. Article 22 is coming off the warrant.
What about 21?
Ann's making our life easier today, huh?
What about 21?
Oh, sorry. That's the one I meant, paddock, sorry.
Oh,
Star it stays on. Star it,
That one has to stay on.
right.
21?
Sorry,
I was looking forward to that.
okay. 22, for the Star It property, money was allocated for the purchase of the property. We didn't end up buying the property. The money now needs to go back into the original account.
Yep.
23 is the funding for the Affordable Housing Coordinator position. That's not consent calendar?
I'm gonna check on that tomorrow. There's two on that page, Article 12, which is the Pheno debt, and Article 23, the affordable housing, and check and see if we did those together last year on the consent calendar.
With the new police station debt, which is the same, it's a CPC transfer in the same way.
It's gonna be a new article.
Yeah, we'll wait a year. Okay. Which is actually next, Article 24.
Okay.
Transfer from CPC historic for the police station debt portion. 25 is for the library, but I'll take it. So this is electrical repairs to, we're just shaking his head.
This
because
one
he
makes
knows
me crazy.
this very well. We had some frozen pipes. We need to upgrade the electrical system in order to provide heating source that was removed during the library builds.
Why can't a conduit be run and create an outlet in that room to run something? Why do we have to upgrade the electrical system? I don't get that.
So this is for the building that has no purpose?
Yes. The rectory, that's.
It does have a
right.
little bit of purpose.
There's one room that has purpose.
Yeah.
So
So, the problem is that there's a space down there where the water enters the building. For some reason, they left the entry of the water in underneath the rectory, the breezeway that goes between. And during really cold times, the thing froze right up. So I spent some time in there with a torpedo heater, melting it, because there was no heat, nothing in there, right? So you need some kind of heat. Well, to plug it in, you gotta, obviously you gotta have an outlet there, right? And the panel's right there, but the panel's this wicked old panel that's actually dangerous. Jack Granger looked at it, and he says it's actually dangerous, and the plugs that are there aren't grounded. So they're just, it's not safe.
Just leave it on then.
it's great.
So we have to do something, but I'm having trouble believing we gotta upgrade the electrical service to pull that off.
$4,700 is the number.
Seems a little expensive, but okay, going on.
Article 20,
You want to take it off or you want to leave it on?
Oh, no, because yeah, we have to pay something to fix the problem, but I just don't think we have to replace the panel, but anyway.
I'll go down and look at it. All right, let Jack. All right, go on.
Article 26 is excess funds left over from the fire station bond issue that we need to reallocate towards a capital project that will be expended within the next 6 to 9 months. So the language here says to fund improvements to the town hall campus or complete streets project.
I'm good with that.
It's about 180,000.
And that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yes, that's the one. Okay, Alan, you're up. Come on up to the microphone, please. We're having trouble with people hearing at home.
I like your sweatshirt.
Thank you. I like yours too.
Later, guys, later.
This article here is to fund a wood chipper, which the highway department's been looking for the past probably 4 years. Right now, we haul brush back to the highway department and then dispose of it down there, which takes a tremendous amount of time, especially with the storms that we had this past March. A lot of times we could just, Mendon's so rural, we could probably just blow the chips right into the woods and not even have to worry about it, and just, it would save a lot of time and effort that's hauling brush.
Alan, do me a favor, just blast through all your articles, because there's a lot of, you're asking for a lot of capital requests on here, so
Yep.
we might want to have a discussion of prioritization. Okay, so I want you,
Okay,
So how much is that, by the way?
okay. The second one is.
How much is the
How much is
chipper?
chipper?
Huh?
How much is the chipper? Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, no problem.
30,000.
Thank you.
Salt shed roof's been leaking a lot of years. I've been patching it. It's like patching potato chips. It's, you fix one, you break two.
Yeah.
You fix them two, you break four more.
And what's that, 17 grand to fix that?
14.
14.
Did you ever look at the metal roof option?
Prices for metal roofs, right? Right now, right now I got a quote for a 50-year asphalt shingle,
That's a good one, yeah.
which, in 50 years or, close to then, we'll probably be looking at a bigger shed.
We'll be dead, too.
Anyway, and you might be.
All right, let's move on.
The next one is the trackless sidewalk machine, which I've been asking for probably 12 years.
How much is that?
$175,000.
The next one is a truck, a dump truck, a bigger truck to, this is for this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
If this stays on, we're going to take the detail out about what kind of truck it is, obviously, and we're just going to put dump truck with plow.
right.
Is this the one with the floor that, or there's no floor?
This is replacing,
80,000 is the number,
80,000?
yes.
this here is replacing a 99 truck that will not pass inspection again.
In order of priority, Alan, I want you to rank them.
Ugh.
That's 4.
Probably the truck would be one.
What's that? Sir?
Truck, the last one I just talked about, the dump truck.
Okay.
The roof.
What's more important than the roof?
Well, the roof you're talking, what was that, 14?
Yeah.
Roof's 14 grand.
You need more than 14?
No,
Call it a 1A. Move on.
1A.
Yeah, 2, yeah.
1B and 1C?
They're all, I do this every year.
I understand, Alan, but we've been rebuilding you for years, too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we got a lot of
so-
other requests.
We'll haul brush, put the chipper last again, it's whatever.
Didn't we,
Yes, so there you go.
didn't we do a truck with a debt exclusion in the past?
Yeah, we've done a bunch of
2 years
stuff.
ago?
2 years ago. We've been,
And then we did another repair at STM, right? We purchased another truck, no emergency replacement.
We repaired the big truck with
Right.
big sander, which was,
So, do we consider debt exclusions on some of this stuff? These trucks and these bigger purchases?
Well, you would on the
Can't we on the
175 and the 80.
don't we have,
Right.
how much is in CapEx?
That's 300K worth of stuff you got here, right? You realize that, right?
Listen, the truck, I'm in favor for.
331 is in CapEx, Alan, so you would.
Perfect.
You would
That's all I
take it
need.
all.
Perfect.
I'm in favor of the truck because the truck that you're using right now doesn't have a floor. All right.
It's got a floor right now, it's just wood.
Yeah. All right, and it's a 1999.
Yeah.
And it's beat the crap. The roof has to happen, in my opinion. So those two things, I could live, I understand the issues with the chipper and I understand the issues with the sideway plow, but I think if we had to do two things, those are the two things I would select.
Which two things did you pick?
I would, me personally, I'd do the $80,000 dump
Is it
truck
80 or is it 70?
and I
Because
do,
80,
and I do the
you
roof.
submitted 70.
that's 80.
So it's-
Also, 2 years, that's a 2-year-old bid.
Fine.
When I first put that on.
Okay.
You know, I was asking you to get it to work, I'm like, oh boy, yep, I'll go cut another tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
would
that would
agree.
be, you know, I'm in agreement with you, Chris. We gotta fix the roof before we start having, you know, real damage.
That has to happen, there's no doubt.
Okay, can I make a slightly different recommendation? I say we do three things. We just eliminate the trackless. Because I think that, you know, we're only talking 30 grand, so that'd be 124, 125,000 to do 3 out of the 4. And I totally see the advantage of that chipper. I mean, I totally get it. And we don't need you slipping out of the truck no more either.
I'm good with the truck. Good with the roof.
We are like the only town around here that does not own a wood chipper. The
We're
only
special.
one. I think Millville has a chipper.
I've been like the lone man
How many,
out every night tonight.
How many times how many times a month do you use a chipper?
Depends. We this month would have been crazy.
Of course. This was an anomaly month. But once you get it
We could use it quite a bit.
I'm just saying, you know,
How many
so.
times a month? Depends on the weather.
How many
I
times
mean,
a
we get
month? I
storms
mean,
in the
you're gonna have
summer,
somebody there
a couple
full-time.
of times, 2 or 3.
There's only 20 days in a working month. 20 working days, so. You get a full-time person on a wood chipper?
That's the next request.
Okay. Yeah, I see your hand up. Go ahead. What do you got?
I was just gonna add, it could benefit, you know, Parks Department too. We get trees and brush and stuff, and I spend an awful lot of time hauling brush to get out of the way. So it would just be highway that chipper would benefit.
Yeah, Mark, you want to finish up on your thought? Chipper?
I mean, a piece of equipment like that, I mean, we're gonna buy a good one for 30 grand. That's gonna be a really good chipper. I mean, that'll last a long time. I mean,
I
as
don't-
it is
I
right
don't-
now, look at.
I'm kind of neutral with the wood chipper. I just don't want to go after the trackless right now.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah. I'm a total no on the trackless.
And the chipper affects everybody. I mean, we stand by the trees for a half hour, 45 minutes until they come out and do stuff. So now you have cops sitting by the side of the road waiting for them to clear brush, clear trees. So.
I'm not trying to be penny wise, a pound foolish, but we got $600,000 in requests on operational stuff and,
Right.
you know,
Kill for $30,000.
kill for 30, yeah, you know, so, you know,
30 grand.
You make a good point, yeah, absolutely.
so.
sounds like you guys want to do it, so.
No, I'm asking you.
Me?
I'm asking you what you want to do with the chipper.
Yeah, it's up to you, buddy.
I'm on the
Why is it
fe-
up to me?
It's all up to you.
I'm on the fence on the chipper.
I got a quarter, want me to flip it?
Well, I mean, I know we need it, but
See,
there's a whole list of things for every other department too.
That's
You know, we're
right.
gonna give,
That's what I'm
we're
getting at.
good on the truck, we're good on the roof, we're chipping away at the list, but do we just, I mean, I don't know.
That's the whole problem I have with this discussion in general. We don't have the capital planning committee functioning and doing what it's supposed to do, because if we did, we would have a larger view, and we're only dealing with Alan in a vacuum here.
In my own defense,
But that's not an attack on you at all.
no, I'm not, I know, but just to let you know, the salt shed was built in, I think, 92.
Well, get off the salt
original.
shed, we've already
No,
approved that.
that's a
So,
no-brainer.
and then, okay, and the pickup truck, it's a 99.
Get off of that.
Those
Okay.
things
After you made the
to me
sale,
make
you
sense
get
in
off of
this
it.
month.
That's it.
Come on, move on to the,
Sales 101, buddy.
Okay.
We're only talking about the chipper here.
Okay.
Beyond those two things, it gets to a point that it's like,
yeah,
what's the whole list look like?
That's right.
Because obviously the truck is a requirement. The wood chipper is a nice to have and would make things better.
Okay, I think you're
But
right.
and the roof needs to be done.
Yeah.
So those two things need to be done sooner than later. The chipper would be nice.
Okay,
but-
I say we stick to the truck and the shed. Shed.
Alan, yeah.
Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Alan is probably blowing 10 grand a year on extra labor and unproductive time currently and in the past by not having the proper equipment. I think the chipper should be on.
Thank you.
Like I said, I can go either way.
You're already spending 10. Spend the extra 20 and save the 10 for every year after.
Well, I could leave it on there.
I think we need to take the summer to look at this further and bring it up again in November.
How close are we to getting a functional capital planning committee?
Well, we got one recommendation last meeting for an additional member. That's as close as we get.
Okay, but you know what, so I'm gonna stick my hand up to say, I will work with Kim to make sure we get that in place, okay? And that we get a top-down view, right? I totally understand what Mr. Greenberg's saying, I probably tend to agree with
Absolutely.
him, but I think we can
I
make that
agree with
same
him as
argument with a whole bunch of other stuff.
That's a
So-
challenge.
So
That's a
I will commit to working with you to get that damn thing running. so
You're
that we
actually
can-
on the committee still.
That's fine, whatever. That's fine.
Okay,
So
Good.
you're on it twice now.
let's, so what I hear you saying, Rich, is let's remove the chipper and
I'm
the,
saying okay with that. I'm saying I'm okay with that, dropping back to the, I know I was the one who pushed the chipper, but I'm happy with going with the two.
okay, so let's just go with the two.
Okay.
All right, Alan?
Okay, so Article 30's a go, and Article 28's a go, right? And 27, 29 are out, right?
Okay. All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Thanks, Alan.
Board of Health, Enterprise Fund.
Oh, boy.
We got a whole crew.
Don't even
coming up.
bother.
Well, given your previous conversation, this might be a good time for you to take a break, Mr. Slade.
Sounds like we got shot down already.
Seriously. Yeah, we only have a few more to get through here, so,
Yeah, we're almost done.
Jesus, Murphy's
Ish.
so slow.
Ish.
Good, guys. So before they start, can I ask a quick question on this whole revolving fund topic? Don't we have, there's more revolving funds than just these two that we're talking
These are
about.
enterprise funds, not revolving
Excuse me,
funds.
for a sec. Alan. Hey, Alan. Thank you.
Upcoming, it's the next article. We needed to pass something at last year's ATM due to the Municipal Modernization Act. It will now put them all as a
Can you
bylaw.
educate me on what the difference is between an enterprise fund and a revolving fund?
Well, an enterprise fund is its own individual, it's like a separate account that doesn't have a cap, that can be, they can charge their own fees, they can set their own limits. Revolving fund, you set the cap for, you regulate. you have to name a person in their group in order to manage their enterprise fund.
Gotcha, yeah, okay.
And you can charge portions of their operating budget to an enterprise fund.
Okay.
Well, would I be correct in saying that there's been a change in revolving accounts in general in terms of the removal of the cap? Is that not accurate?
I don't know about the removal of the cap, but we have to, when we get to your article next, we have to pick one.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know if you had a target, but they have to set one. And you also have to name how it's gonna be operated, but we'll
All right,
get
so
to
let's,
that when we get to,
let's get to the article that's on in front of us. So, go ahead.
Do you want us to just explain? Oh, I didn't know if you want to read it first.
Nope.
First of all, you
No.
want to make it revolving.
Yeah, so when we put forth this article, we were entertaining that it be an enterprise fund. We had some previous information that we felt at the time an enterprise fund could be beneficial for the purpose that we outlined. Since then, though, we've had some in-depth conversations with some individuals who've had some experience in enterprise funds, and the information that was relayed kind of made us realize that an enterprise fund might be a little bit more than what we would need for this particular purpose. An enterprise fund is, unlike a revolving account or revolving fund, kind of also takes into account capital assets and things of that nature, maybe along the lines of what the water department might have a need for, where they have fixed assets that they might need to maintain over a period of time. In our case, we're looking at really trying to cover, create an account that would cover trash recycle fees as it pertains to the service that's provided for the users in town. We have no assets to maintain, so we actually are looking to not actually make this request an enterprise fund, but to actually make this a revolving account.
okay.
Okay, which means you'd move it down to that other
It's
section.
already on,
Go to the other, right.
it's on there. We'll just go there now.
Okay, so that means we strike this one?
31.
No, so 31's out, and it's in 33, and we can talk about it there, and we'll come
that
back to
point, yeah.
32.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Well, we might as well, while it's in here. we-
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That is exactly what I'm saying. So, Article 33, we have to pass, okay? It's required that we pass it, it can't fail. This is how revolving accounts are now handled, okay? So listed in the little box, you'll see it becomes a bylaw now, it gets added to our bylaws.
What does that mean, it can't fail? I don't understand.
Well, I asked Cindy that today, it's not lawful if it doesn't pass, our revolving accounts will not be lawful. So this is the new mechanism in order to have revolving accounts.
Okay, so be careful with what you're saying, because that could be misunderstood, because why make something for vote if it can't fail? I mean, that's
Well,
silly.
if it-
What you're saying is if unless it passes, we can't have any revolving funds.
Correct.
Okay?
So the only exception to this would be the new, so all of these revolving accounts that are listed in the box, so you can see there's a revolving fund, a spending authority, the fees, and then it's got restrictions, requirements, fiscal year, there's all the language up above to pass it, and then these are the actual revolving accounts that we have. And then the addition is the one of the Board of Health. So what I was just saying is, we need to add to this box a spending authority, which can be the chair of the Board of Health with approval of the Board of Health. That's fine, just if that's under spending authority.
But it is listed here, that
It's not.
what's this right here? It says Board of Health.
That's
Oh, you did, you should put my notes in. Excellent, perfect.
I thought I was crazy for a minute.
Okay, perfect, so well.
Not tonight.
Unless, I can't, yes,
Excuse me, Kim, the one that's in the box
yes.
is the second account that we're asking for. It's not,
It's not the same as.
not the article we're talking about, which is the enterprise fund,
Oh, I
which
thought-
should be a revolving fund.
Oh, you want another,
Two separate.
No, what we want to do is, if, at first, we thought the enterprise fund was going to cover that. After doing more exploration, we found that that was overkill for what we were looking
so
for.
you want a revolving account for that one, and then also for the Title V, you want a separate revolving
There you
account?
go.
Okay,
Okay, so there'll be two
same
rows.
difference, exactly, so,
Yep.
got it.
Thank you.
That probably just wasn't in there because at the time,
Right, I wouldn't have
I
known.
just thought it was.
So Kim, quick question. So
Yes.
the revolving funds that are listed here now then, are the ones that we've been having every year
Correct.
under the old method.
Correct.
There's nothing new there. Once
No.
you add this extra Board of Health one, well, that'll be something new, but other than that, it's
Correct.
all the way it used to be.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're going to add the language for the Board of Health for there too, and if you,
Their second.
and then in the article, if you so choose, if someone chooses to amend it to remove them,
Mm-hmm.
that would be the motion. It'd be not to add them, but to remove them.
So the justification for, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The justification for the second one you want to add, my understanding is, and this is a good argument that'll convince me, actually. The justification is to make sure that the charges to the residents for trash is right-sized. You're not looking to accrue a balance, you're looking to determine how much you're actually spending and adjust the charges to the residents appropriately.
Yes, and when we first started the recycling, the paper on 1 week and containers the next week, we get paid back by Republic Services for the paper. And then when we initially did that, that was so that we could reduce the fees for the trash users.
Right.
And we've never been able to do that. By having the revolving account, we would be able to do that. That's just one aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Me too, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
good with that. Okay.
So Article 34 is the limits on these accounts. So the Board of Health would need a recommended limit, and I don't know if they have a, well, they need two, right? Now you need two limits.
Yeah, so,
Engineering, no more than 25,000. I was gonna go trash off the top of my head. I'd say, we're in the middle of a contract negotiation, I would say 350,000.
what?
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what it costs. I mean,
You know,
that's-
I know.
Yeah, a lot of money goes through that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying off the top of my head, those would be.
And again, those costs, I think that Missy's referring to are actually a combination of the trash pickup and the disposal element. That's part of it as well, too.
In a revolving fund, what restrictions are there on what it can be spent on?
That I don't know. So,
Because, I mean,
It's-
look, as long as we get this board, there's no worry, right?
Right.
You get some other,
well, I know we had this discussion last year when we were talking about parks and spending capital from the revolving account, and enough never accrued within that account because the cap limit was so low, which is why I think we just need to explore. I would add these on, and then we could debate the limits when we get on the floor. Let me get some more information on how much the maximum should be, and then we can
I'm fine
fill
with that.
that in.
Especially once the board has a contract.
Yeah, because maybe it's not the entire amount, maybe it's not 350, it's 100 they get to keep that carries over. I don't know if there's a limit.
We'll never have 100 left over.
Right.
Typically,
So-
the most we've had left over since I've been involved is somewhere between 20 and 30.
Right.
And that has to do with the overlay of different contracts, what paper was bringing at one time, which it isn't bringing now, and negotiating our rate with Wheeler Brader, which goes up every year. So we're not talking about a lot of money. Even if we had money in there to try to cut the rate for the users, we might only be able to cut the rate by a couple of dollars. Some people won't even notice it, unfortunately, because there isn't a surplus. We're trying to run as close to zero as possible.
I thought that the limit was only what was left, what could be left in there at the end of the fiscal year, not the spend limit.
I think there's both, isn't there?
Dan has, I
Yeah.
think,
So
more.
I could be mistaken. My understanding is that these types of revolving accounts, there is no limit on the balance in the account. The limit is on how much you can spend in each
Yeah.
fiscal year.
Yeah.
Right.
You can have a
So they eliminated
Says it
the
right.
end balance, right?
Parks account is a totally different ballgame under a totally different law.
Right.
But I think the cap has to do with how much they can spend each year without additional approvals from the town.
Would that include our contracts, which with Republic and?
I don't know, which is why we got to find out what the number
All right,
should
let's-
be.
we'll-
I would
we'll-
leave them on, and then
we'll
we'll
adjust
find
it.
out what the number
We'll
should
adjust
be.
it accordingly.
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
Because if you're all right with the concept of what they're
Yeah.
doing, then
Yeah.
I
we'll just
am.
find what the correct number is to put into there.
okay.
So, just something to stick in the back of our heads, though, I think that part of our financial reporting, though, should be a separate report on the expenditure out of revolving funds to make sure it meets the objectives and the strategic mission that's been outlined for them. Make sure it's being used the way it's supposed to be used. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, all right, cool.
Thank you.
Question I do have, do we have, or does any department currently have an enterprise fund in the town of Maine? At all?
I don't think
Just
so.
out of curiosity.
An enterprise.
I don't think so.
Thank you.
So why did the water board need an enterprise fund instead of a
They
revolving?
want to build up capital to do capital projects.
Margaret, did you have a question?
I just wanted to be clear, with the modernization bill, so we still vote the spending limits every year.
Right.
That we've been doing, right?
Yeah, limit on
That's what
spending.
we voted in the
Yes.
bylaw this year. correct?
In 34, in Article 34, those are the limits, yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, go back to 32.
Okay. 32 is turnout gear for the fire department. It's approximately $50,000.
That's it, huh?
Does. Is this for the call department as well?
Yes, for the entire department. Presently, we have a grant application in for this money. But if we don't get the grant, we'll need to be able to purchase it, as the equipment is over 10 years old.
Okay.
And the grant would defray how much of the 50,000?
All of it, except for our half, which is 5% to $25,000.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We have to pay the 5% tax.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know how we say no to that, I mean, that's,
you gotta do it, so. What's the, has it expired already?
Yes, it's 10, the gear is over 10 years old now.
Oh, 10 years old, but when's it,
10 years.
when's the term date on the gear itself, though?
I don't have the exact date. I know right now it's expired.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, thank you. If it's expired, it's expired. All right. All right, thanks.
was that the last one, Mr.
No,
Chairman?
no, that's 35.
Okay. 35. Bill, please.
Bill, come on up.
So, 35 is the moratorium on marijuana that we passed at the last STM. So, the meeting was properly noticed, the public hearing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a report and a recommendation wasn't made at the meeting in order to pass this. But we also got a recommendation today that you should actually go ahead and have another public hearing, just to be on the safe side.
Well, it's outside 6 months, obviously, so another public hearing would need to be. I thought, I mean, I'm just going by recollection here, but I thought, because I was indisposed of it at the time, I couldn't be at your town meeting. I thought the minutes were supposed to be read into that public meeting with, which made the board's recommendation and report.
Recommendation from council is that you need to issue a report and a recommendation at this town meeting, and also redo the public hearing just to be on the safe side,
In order to do what?
to pass the moratorium.
Pass the
Okay, so
moratorium.
you're saying the moratorium we passed already is ineffective right now because
Correct.
we didn't follow something we should have done?
Because the planning board did not issue a report and a recommendation on the floor of town meeting.
Okay.
So, we're doing it again.
Okay.
With the same dates, I would assume.
Yes.
I mean, I thought we had this discussion, and I thought the report was gonna be made today. The report can be made verbally or written.
Right.
There was
And I had given instruction to read the notes to the minutes on town floor because I could not be present. And apparently, I guess that did not occur.
I mean, a recommendation,
Who was supposed to do that?
I don't recall, Margaret.
Okay, 'cause I mean, I'm the one that prepares everything that that goes to the Attorney General after the town meeting.
Yeah.
And there was no report or recommendation on town meeting floor.
There was a verbal one.
There was a verbal one?
I
Yeah,
don't think
there-
so. I don't think there was
No,
anything.
there was not. Nothing. And I.
There was a
on my
conversation around
form,
planning board.
It's the planning board recommendation.
Right.
I know.
But on my form, it says, does the planning board make an oral or a written recommendation? I said no.
Okay.
There was no oral
Just
recommendation.
wanted somebody got up and said something, but they
I
didn't
would,
give you a report.
yeah,
They
I
didn't
was
give you a
unaware of
report.
that.
This is frustrating.
I mean, I just presumed it went off as I requested.
Well, it's a
But,
formality.
yeah, there's nothing we can do about it now. We can easily run the public hearing again.
Right.
That's not an issue, but,
We do 95% of what we do accurately. I mean, a mistake's gonna happen every once in a while, so we
Yeah.
just fix it and move on.
yeah. It's,
Okay,
Okay.
there it is.
is there anything else?
Okay,
All right.
Well,
we're gonna have to take a, actually, we're just wrapping up. Do we have like
Cindy
5
to
minutes,
reach out
Pat?
to her about preparing
No?
the bylaw for
All right.
STM now for marijuana.
Time out. Oh, I have not. but-
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess to swap out some desks. Just do it.
And, well, we don't have anything, upcoming meeting dates.
I don't I know you and I were conversing,
Yeah.
but I asked for the report to be read on the floor. Council put a written recommendation.
Hi.
You probably don't have these pictures of the typo.
Oh, no, we have a, yes. Yes.
The new girl? To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm simply a deed that probably regarding
Meeting dates.
Hold on.
So,
Hey, guys!
I did get notification from Amy while we were here that the senior center is not available on the 14th.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So we could,
If you want to have the meeting here.
I'm okay with that if we set up a different format.
Yep.
I want it to feel like, you know, we're kind of like all together, like sitting having a chat, not,
I am also
This guy.
unavailable, just so you know.
that's all right.
oh, you don't need to be there.
Well, if you want a different format, be setting it up. Just-
Well, we'll figure
If
it
you want
out.
to have it here.
We either do it here or the school. We could try to find the cafeteria at the school or something like that. I could ask Jay or something.
What about
The library.
too small, yeah, I was gonna say the library downstairs is an area, but that might be too small. I even think the senior center might be too small.
Well, we don't have to decide that here. Let's
We'll figure it out.
listen to 'em and figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
School or here?
I'm fine here.
Okay. Is this
Clough
location?
School, what about Clough School?
That's fine, too.
We can fit a lot of people in here.
No, it's not bad.
It's
It's,
about removing ourselves from this room.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it, yeah.
yeah. Let's just try to go after the school and see if we can get the school. That'd be my vote, all right?
Send her an email? Okay. And then I have the 9th and the 23rd for Board of Selectmen meetings.
23rd of April?
Yes.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm good on both of those. Okay.
9th is no good for me. I will be in Washington, D.C.
How long are you in DC for, Rich?
I'll be back Friday afternoon.
And 16th, you're out, right, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what do we have pressing that would, do we have a big agenda? We're gonna finish the warrant, that's it, right?
Warrant's done.
Well, I mean, it's done, but it's,
Budget should be done, so it's whatever else comes up between now and then. So, I mean, if you're going to meet on the 14th, you could potentially add an hour where you meet on other things.
Say we do that.
Before or after.
If you don't mind.
I just won't be available. So it'll just be, and I don't know that Laura will be available. You'll be on your own. For minutes.
Okay. Well, I wasn't planning on televising it. So,
What?
you were saying the 14th, right?
Oh, well, right, but, I mean, we can try to skip the 9th and have a really long meeting on the 23rd. See how it goes. How about we just,
So that would be
we
one
plan for
meeting,
that,
right?
and if there's nothing that's pending that has to be decided for the 9th, we'll bump it till when Rich gets back.
We'll have the meeting on the
Right,
9th if you want.
if there's
Whatever.
something, right.
That one there would be very easy for me to remote participate, because I'm
Right,
gonna be in the
right,
same time zone.
Exactly. He can
Okay.
remote participate, even better. Okay, so the 9th and the 23rd, and then we have town meeting on the 4th,
This is not 2 in the morning.
and then we can decide summer dates once we get past ATM. I don't want to think that far yet.
Okay, good. All right. Is that it?
Summer dates on it.
Is there anything else on the agenda?
No,
Do we have to go into executive session tonight?
yes,
Do we have to vote on the warrant, or do we?
yes. So,
Oh,
and you
that's what
also
I-
need to.
that's what I was getting
wait,
at. That's why I said the
And you
warrant.
also need to approve the ballot language. Let me print it out.
Well, no, you're exactly right. I'm sitting there going, I don't have a motion for the
Too
warrant
much
yet.
of this with no food.
Hold on, and you also need to approve this language.
Something's wrong. I see a lot of
What?
pointing and
Did we,
concerned looks.
you guys discuss deficit spending already?
Yeah, I
Yes.
already approved it, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we laughed at your email. Sorry, I don't make them.
That's
make
what
the
was getting me
weather.
confused, Kim, about the, because we don't have a motion to
All right.
accept the warrant as it's agreed to tonight.
Okay, so,
Accept the motion, accept the warrant as amended, as approved by
So
town
moved.
council.
so moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. That's what I was getting at, that's why I was confused about it. I wasn't sure if we were gonna wait to meet with the FinCom or not.
Now we can't see you at all.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we definitely missed that, no question.
Those camel shoes, you just need camel pants now.
It's in between, there's a little snow.
This is the language, the ballot language down on the bottom. I don't know if you want to change the title of highway surveyor to something else. DPW director, highway superintendent.
I think that's fine.
So wait a minute, does that have to pass both places, or it just,
Yeah,
is it a dual vote?
yes,
Are you sure of that?
yes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean,
It's a big change.
Yeah,
So maybe you should just read it.
I did read it.
No, I mean into the
Out loud?
minutes, right.
shall the town vote to have its elected town clerk become an appointed town clerk of the town? Yes or no? Shall the town vote to have its elected highway surveyor become an appointed highway surveyor of the town? Yes or no? I'm fine with
I
that.
would like to have the DPW director, if anybody has a major objection.
That's fine with
I
me.
mean, that sounds fine.
Thanks. Okay, then,
As amended.
thank you.
Okay?
I'll change this for you too.
Are we good? All right, so I move to enter into executive session, purpose 2, under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy in respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Mendon Town Hall Union, Local 272, Mendon Highway Department Union, Local 272, Mass Coalition of Police Union, AFL-CIO, Local 188, Mendon Police Civilian Dispatch Union, Local 188A, and Mendon Permanent Firefighters Union, Local 4936, IAFF.
Second.
Roll call vote is needed.
Okay, are we gonna reconvene only to adjourn or not?
Reconvene only to adjourn.
Second.
Burke, aye.
Schofield, aye?
Real aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.